News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A Frenchtown man is in jail for allegedly nearly strangling his wife into a stroke. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It is Friday, April the 24th. Congratulations, you made it. It's 44 degrees. It's mild in western Montana this morning because of the cloud cover. It is cloudy, 44 degrees in Missoula. And our newscast this morning is sponsored by AB Technology Solutions, offering free pickup and delivery in the Missoula area. Find them online at abtechnologysolutions.com. Our top story this morning, a 39-year-old Jacob Nichols of Frenchtown appeared at Missoula Justice Court via video yesterday for strangling his wife so severely that she suffered a stroke. Missoula County Sheriff's deputies were called to a home in Frenchtown early Tuesday morning. Deputy Missoula County Attorney Jennifer Clark asked Judge Marie Anderson for $200,000 bond.
Shortly after the deputies arrived and interrupted this disturbance, while talking to her, she was disoriented, ended up going to the emergency department and was admitted to the ICU. And it was determined that she had a stroke as a result of the strangulation.
Nichols has been charged with felony aggravated assault causing permanent or life-threatening injuries and misdemeanor unlawful restraint. The possible penalties, up to 20 years in prison, up to a $50,000 fine. He was remanded to the jail on $200,000 bail. The Montana Supreme Court has ordered a western Montana man who was convicted of incest, rape, and sexual assault to be resentenced, agreeing that the judge failed to give him credit for time served between his arrest and sentencing. Douglas Gwill of Heron was sentenced in September of 2008 to 50 years in prison without the possibility of parole on 5 felony convictions for keeping a woman captive and sexually molesting her for 14 years, starting when she was only 6 years old. Gwill is 62. With credit for time served, he'd be eligible for parole when he turns 104. A Missoula woman, Lynn Bateman, was in the group literally standing behind County Attorney Kirsten Pabst during Wednesday's address at the county courthouse, and for good reason. Bateman told KGVO News it was Kirsten Pabst who was responsible for her regaining her life after an incident a dozen years ago in which a stalker placed her in fear of her safety.
Kirsten, fortunately for me, was the prosecutor who at that time was assigned to my case. She is the reason that my life went from being terrorized on an almost daily basis to being able to live a normal life with my husband and children.
Bateman said she called Pabst several times at her home, once early on a Sunday morning, and said Pabst comforted and encouraged her to testify against her attacker.
Just tell the truth, and I will be there beside you while you do it. She has as much character, integrity, honesty, and compassion as anyone I have ever known, and I am privileged to know her, and I am honored to be called her friend.
Bateman was in the courtroom to support Pabst after all the negative references to her and her predecessor, Fred Van Valkenburg, in the John Krakauer book, Missoula, Rape and the Justice System in a College Town. A Montana judge who was censured by the state's high court for his comments about a 14-year-old rape victim has been chosen for a Lifetime Achievement Award by his own local bar association. Yellowstone Area Bar Association President Jessica Fear said yesterday that former State District Judge G. Todd Baugh was chosen for the award by the group's board of directors. Fear declined to say why Baugh was chosen or who nominated him. Baugh sparked widespread outrage 2 years ago after comments suggesting that a 14-year-old girl shared some responsibility for her rape by a teacher. He sentenced former teacher Stacy Ramble to just 1 month in prison. In the case, the victim had committed suicide. Missoula jail is packed. Overcrowding has become a major problem for local policymakers. This week, the University of Utah's Policy Innovation Lab announced it's picked Missoula as one of 6 government entities which will be receiving an influx of technical expertise and funding. The goal is to develop a pay-for-success system to help reduce the prison population. Lab Director Jeremy Keel explains how it works.
Pay-for-success is a form of government contracting where the government actually puts a price on an outcome that it's willing to pay for. Say, just hypothetically, a 10% reduction in the recidivism rate. And then it selects a service provider or a group of service providers who are typically nonprofits in the community that are able to deliver that outcome.
Before government pays out any money, the private sector steps in and carries the risk as it tries to put new ideas to work.
The private sector sector then comes in and funds the intervention up front. So it actually pays for the nonprofit to provide that program for a number of years. And then at the end of that program period, an independent evaluator will measure whether the program has been effective or not. If the program was successful in achieving that target, then government pays the private sector back.
The Policy Innovation Lab will be spending nearly $100,000 on a cost-benefit analysis for Missoula. A study by the U.S. Geological Survey was released yesterday showing at least 8 states have experienced a spike in small earthquakes caused by fracking. Senior research geologist and earthquake studies director Mike Stickney has been watching the seismic needle in Montana, says Montana has a different story.
The reasons for that are not necessarily well understood. We certainly have oil and gas field activities, especially up in the very northeast corner of the state on the edge of the Bakken. Although that type of injection disposal is occurring in parts of Montana, we have not seen an associated increase of earthquake activity like they have in other places.
Stickney says he doesn't know why Montana hasn't experienced more induced earthquakes, but thinks the difference might be in where the excess fracking liquids are stored.
As I understand it, many of the areas that are experiencing induced seismicity, they dispose of their waste fluids at levels below where they're extracting them from. It's just the opposite in the Bakken. The disposal field is still very deep. It's several thousand feet below the surface, but it is above the production zone.
A somewhat related story, 2 earthquakes, a magnitude 4.1 and a 4.2 have jolted northern Idaho, with residents feeling them from northeastern Washington all the way into northwestern Montana. No injuries or damage reported. And yesterday, the Montana Healthcare Foundation announced a call for grants to fund various healthcare-related activities. Foundation CEO Aaron Wernham made the announcement from Bozeman.
We've been hard at work with strategic planning and identifying the needs in Montana and where we can find the best opportunities to help communities improve health. And today we are releasing our first call for grant proposals.
Wernham said the foundation will make a substantial amount of cash available for grant projects.
We expect to commit somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million this year. It's also important to note this foundation this is our first year of grant making. We will be here, though, in perpetuity. We're meant to be here for the long haul.
The foundation's primarily looking to fund projects related to behavioral health, American Indian health, and partnerships for better health. Get details at mthcf.org. News Talk time is 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly cloudy skies today with a chance of showers and a few isolated thunderstorms. Highs will top out in the upper 50s. Wind will be out of the west at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy tonight with lows right around freezing. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.